Good evening. This is the call to order for the Policy Committee meeting for Wednesday, May 7th at 5:30. Michelle, could we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Tom Hankins is unable to be here tonight. Juan Romero,
Here.
Brian Nichols.
Here.
All members are present except Tom Hankins.
Thank you. Could I get an approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next up is the approval of the minutes. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, the next item is 2A, appointment of vice chair. I would like to appoint Tom Hankins in his absence. He was the vice chair last year, and I'd like to appoint him. Is there any discussion about that? Mr. Romero, are you good with that?
I'm okay. I second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. The next item is 2B, Policy Committee meeting schedule, and this was brought forth by Dr. Garrison, and unfortunately he's not in here quite yet, but I'll read the purpose: to have a discussion regarding this committee's meeting time and day. Committee members may want to consider meeting earlier since all members stated they could serve on a committee that meets at 4 p.m. This would be an opportunity to discuss when the Policy Committee could possibly meet. So I will open that up for discussion. Mr. Romero?
I'm open for an earlier meet time, being as how I'd like to not stay late if we don't have to.
Okay. Is 4 o'clock work for you also?
Yeah, 4 o'clock works for me.
Okay. Well, as Dr. so aptly stated, it all three of us stated, I believe, on the organization form that we would be available at 4 o'clock or after. So I will take a motion to. I need a motion to move the.
Before we made a motion, also my intent to start earlier also is it does allow the public to have time to show up earlier instead of having to stay late also as well.
Correct.
But a motion.
Okay. To approve.
To approve.
Okay.
Yes.
I second. Any discussion? Dr. Garrison, you're just arriving, so you're the one that brought this forward, and thank you for doing that. So
I apologize.
that's okay. No apologies necessary.
So, yes, do you mind if I add a discussion?
No.
Sure. So, one of the things I've been trying to just think about as a whole, when we're thinking about committee times and committee structures, it's important that we, of course, honor everybody's time, right? And I think, during the day for committee meetings, that's not a new thing. In many school districts, some have their committee meetings at 7 in the morning. 7:30 in the morning. I'm sorry, 8 o'clock in the morning, before everybody is woke. Overall, our goal is to, naturally have our meetings where we can be productive, and be able to make sure we meet the needs of the committee, right? And so, if that's a space in which this committee could operate from, I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up. Now, naturally, you all could say, hey, you know what, we still want to start at 5, so be it, right? We still want to start at 5:30, so be it, right? But I did want to at least bring that forward as a recommendation to you all to consider, because that also allows us here at the administration level the opportunity to have our 4 o'clock meeting and still necessarily be ready for our 6 o'clock meeting. I'm sorry, be ready for any other meetings that we may have on a night as such. And so if that's something that the committee is willing to do, we, of course, are here as an administration, so it could work for us. Thank you for the consideration.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. Actually, I had thought, just myself, I hadn't said anything to anybody, but I thought, man, maybe we could move that to 5 o'clock if everybody agreed to that. But as you aptly pointed out, and Mrs. Shope confirmed that we all three said that we would be available for any 4 o'clock meetings. And so Mr. Romero has offered the motion, and I've seconded it. So we were. I'm glad you came in so you could give us your viewpoint on that. But I thank you for doing that. So. So having a motion on the table and a second, any more discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So we will adjust the meeting, Mrs. Shope, to 4 o'clock, and we'll have to update the policy too. So I think it doesn't have a time in there?
I think we took the time out last time.
Okay, you're right. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Motion carried. Okay, we are moving on to 3A, Policy Committee discussion. And this is to have discussion regarding this committee and proposed changes to committee structure as proposed at the last policy and regular board meeting in April. And so what we talked about was changing the name of the policy committee and its description to Policy and Human Resources Committee, and there is a policy. There's a new. We have adjusted the writing of the policy, and it's attached to the agenda. So I will open that up for discussion. Mr. Romero, do you have any things you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I would actually. I'm looking at the what's proposed here, and I just had a couple questions.
Okay.
Number one, what was the intent of changing it? What was the whole purpose?
This actually came out of history. It used to be that way, and I've had some community input that thought that was that it was a smoother, better, a more concise way to handle both policies and a lot of HR stuff in one meeting, then to bring it to the board for discussion and approval at a later, for the next meeting. So that's kind of where this came from. So.
Okay, and also then to that aspect, well, moving on. the wording, some of the wording here that's been put in here, it leads a lot to the imagination, so people can get the wrong idea of what I'm thinking of here, especially where, for example, we have it changed to remove the policies reviewed using a diversity, equity, inclusion lens and consultation, all that. When that's brought up, I get the feeling that people are going to think that we're trying to eliminate DEI, and that's not necessarily the case. And I know
No.
the wording
Right.
below it's trying to attempt to speak towards that. But to me, it's not strong, if that makes any sense.
What-
It leads like to believe. I do have a suggestion I'd like to probably offer to you. Maybe
Okay.
I can read it to you.
Sure.
I was thinking about it, and I want to make sure everybody still feels included, even if we have to change
Right.
verbiage.
Okay.
So for the policy, it kind of elongates it a little bit, but it puts it more structured and more of a black and white sort of thing, so there's no grays for people to kind of
Okay.
get the wrong ideas and whatnot. It's more of
Okay.
a clear intent to include everybody, where some might not feel that we're being included. For example, I just proposing like 185.4.1 is the purpose, and to assist in creating a learning environment that optimizes student achievement by ensuring district policies and personnel actions reflect the best practices, legal compliance, and the district's strategic priorities. Number 2, it'd be 185.4.2. 2.1, the Policy and Human Resources Committee shall conduct formal review of the master policy logbook, the MPL, on a 5-year rotating cycle. 185.4.2.2, policies requiring annual review are designated in the MPL and shall be reviewed by the committee members each year. And then it goes on to 2.3, any policy may be reviewed outside the scheduled cycle upon request of a board member, the superintendent, or a committee member. Such requests may be made in response to changes in laws, district priorities, or community feedback. 2.4, in evaluating and recommending policy changes, the committee shall consider legal compliance and board policy alignment, fair and inclusive practices that promote equity and access, the anticipated impact on students' outcomes, staff performance, and operational effectiveness. Then it goes on to section 3, so it'd be 185.4.3, then it goes 3.1. The Policy and Human Resources Committee is responsible for reviewing and studying personnel recommendations submitting by the superintendent prior to full board consideration. And then 3.2 says, after a thorough review, the committee may A, recommend approval of superintendent's recommendations, B, recommend amendments to the proposal, or C, recommend denial of the proposal with justification. Then in 3.3 would say all personnel-related actions will be guided by the district's commitment to maintaining an effective and responsive and student-centered learning environment. And then section 4, and it'd be 4.1. For section 4 is the reporting and the recommendations. 4.1 is the Policy and Human Resource Committee will forward all policy and personnel recommendations to the full board for final action. And 4.2 would be summary reports and rationale will be documented in meeting minutes and made available to the board and public in accordance with open records requirements. And that's just pretty much what I have, but I feel it kind of more solidifies things and makes
Okay.
it more
Do you happen-
more easy or black and white for people to kind of really have more focused questions on it versus kind of a vague issue.
Okay, that's very good, very well written. Do you happen to have copies of that?
Yeah, I can get you a copy.
Okay. Good. Dr. Garrison.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Romero, for that snapshot that you have.
Very detailed.
Very detailed there as well. You know, one of the things, and again, this is not to negate anything that you just put out there, Mr. Romero. One of the things that this Policy and Human Resources Committee, I like to think about what it could do, is allow us to, again, better study some of our human resources needs and our staffing needs in our school district, right? And if you correct me if I'm wrong, at the board meeting when this was brought up, I thought we were not necessarily trying to drill down into HR recommendations, more so looking at staffing plans or more so thinking about our personnel needs in the committee. I thought that was part of some of the conversation at the actual board meeting. Mrs. Almendares, I would ask you that you come to the mic as well. One of the things that we have tried to do is when we're thinking about staffing, it's an ongoing space, right? We're looking at that throughout the school year. Oh, this was at the April 15th board meeting, or prior to that, probably prior to that, right? April 1st? No?
I don't remember. Mrs. Shope, do you remember when we first, was this August 15th board meeting, or was it, do you,
When we produced the,
It was at the April 15th.
April 15th?
yeah.
Okay,
That it got reviewed and sent back here.
correct. Thank you.
so I would think that this committee could do that, look at more snapshot of what staffing looks like in the school district, what it actually provides, what it actually has, what we're doing throughout the school year. Because I think some of the assumption is we're not having those conversations with the buildings, and we're constantly talking to the buildings around staffing and staffing needs based off of enrollment. And that'll be something that we could also have that same conversation like right here with you all, so you can see how we do workbooks in our school district. One of the things that gives me a little pause is that, of course, we have hiring HR recs every board meeting pretty much. And this would, and I'll be honest with you, I believe this could actually slow down that process if there's things that you will want to modify or make suggestions to, and or as this policy is written, not the one that you just mentioned, Mr. Morero, it says at the bottom, making recommendations to the full board or denying the superintendent's personnel recommendations and study and deliberation. I feel like a quorum of two, or in this case, a voting of two, could not move forward recommendations that typically the full board would need to vote on to make those decisions. That was partly the reason why we, just in discussion, that we decided to move the HR conversation back to the full board, because when we did have just the HR committee, unfortunately we were starting meetings later because of so much, that we had to kind of cover as a full board in the HR meeting before the regular meeting, okay? And that was a bit challenging. As a matter of fact, what I did was I went back and I looked at all of the meetings that we had prior to that decision, and we had 21 of 33 meetings started late, after let's just say after 7:05, because we used to start the board meetings at 7 o'clock, and that's just a big number. Now, there are some that we were able to start on time when we were, in the old system where we had the full board having the HR committee. But since we've moved the HR committee back to the full board, and, of course, we have our we have our TLE meeting and our business operations meetings before that, we are only 6 of 23 meetings starting late. And I say that because 64% before we did that, down to 26% after we did that. I think that's just a space that we, should be thinking about too. I don't want this to feel like we don't want to do the study of an HR space, but more so when we do put this together, it'll function where we can be the most productive in our time. Ms. Almendares. Do you mind?
Excuse me.
No, go ahead.
So if I'm understanding correctly, what we're thinking is the Policy and Human Resources Committee on the HR side would be more about strategy, staffing plan, and overall concerns as it pertains to the world of HR, and what is being proposed, since we only have once a month Policy and Human Resources Committee meetings, essentially it can delay our hiring by an entire month if something gets held up at this committee level before it goes to the full board for approval. Potentially 2 months, depending on the frequency of the meetings. So would it be a fair compromise to maintain the Policy and Human Resources Committee, but not making the committee the one that that determines the recommendations for hire to move forward to the full board? Because then we'd be limiting to providing you with that list, that Exhibit A, once a month instead of the twice a month that we currently do, which helps us to make sure people don't go elsewhere, essentially.
Yeah, I understand. We don't, the idea was not to be hold up hiring, obviously, because especially the world that we're living in for the last several months, we don't want to be able to have to do that. I think the intent was to just kind of help, kind of strategize a little more beforehand with this group. And I talked to Mrs. Shope this afternoon, and unfortunately, I didn't want to surprise everybody, so I pulled the retired policy back when it was that. So I'm going to give you a copy, Dr. Garrison, and hopefully I didn't give you the one I just. No, that's good. Mr. Romero and Mrs. Almendares. So I think what I would like to do, Mr. Romero, you have your hand up, so. Well, let me finish. Can I finish what I'm going to say? Okay, good. So I think what I would propose is that we table this item till the next policy meeting, and I would like to get, you share a copy, share that with Mrs. Shope, and she can get it out. Is that the best way, Michelle? Ms. Shope, send that to everybody and make sure everybody has, this will be on the next agenda as well as Mr. Romero's and the other one, and then we can have a more intelligent decision. And Mr. Hankins hopefully will be back. Typically, Board President Johnson is in here too, so I think that would be a more robust discussion and make sure that we're moving in the right direction. So.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I just came up with that because I was reading, just based off of what I was reading, not knowing really the history and why we're doing things and whatnot. And for the purpose of that, I mean, it's very valid points that Ms. Almendares brings up as well. So,
Correct.
I mean,
I
it's
agree.
just some things I was thinking of just with this verbiage, cleaning it up a bit.
And I like it. I think great job doing that, and we appreciate that. That's good work. So unless anybody has an objection, I would move that we table this until the June 4th, I believe. I believe June 4th is to the June 4th policy meeting.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, and just on housekeeping, Mrs. Shope, you have access to that policy because you shared it with me, the old policy. And then if Mr. Romero can get you the other one, then we'll.
For clarification,
Yes.
do you want Mr. Romero's policy, the retired policy, the proposed policy,
Yes.
and the current policy all attached on the agenda, and then you're going to work to create something new?
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is 4A, Policy 881.1, District Booster Clubs. So we discussed this at the full board and was asked to bring it back to the policy committee meeting by the full board. And I am going to open it for discussion. Mr. Gratz, I see you are online.
I am, yep.
Would you like to address any of the issues that we talked about last month?
Sure. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep, you're coming through great.
Perfect. Great, thanks. So as we were going through last month, wanted to kind of try to honor some of the questions that we had and kind of clean up maybe some of the things that were being questioned. The first one, there was a lot of discussion about the state of Wisconsin Booster Club guidelines. I'm comfortable. I feel like as we go through the rest of the policy, we still are able to get what we need and make sure that our district is, operating as transparently as possible by eliminating number one. So that was a thought. Let me stop just for a second. Do we want to stop for discussion after each piece, or do you want me to kind of go through each one and then talk at the end?
Yeah, I think we should probably try to discuss each item before we move on, so we remember where we are, Mr. Gratz. Thank you.
Absolutely, yep.
So open up for discussion.
So
Mr. Romero, go ahead.
So you're basically saying by eliminating number one, it adds a layer of transparency. Is that, did I hear that correctly?
We still are able to get the level of transparency we want without number one. And I know there was a great deal of discussion about number one. And I think there was confusion, and I think it created some too many questions for the community. So my thought is, just as we went through it, just to eliminate number one, because again, we get the effect that we're looking for from a district level with it not in there, and kind of going through some others as we go down the list. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm wondering what kinds of questions would be brought up on that. For me, just looking at this, it's just basically stating that to be compliant with a certain set of guidelines. That's, I guess, would that be where the questions would be, which guidelines we're supposed to follow?
Yeah, the argument was, so we pulled that from Parent Booster USA, which is a national organization. It's a nonprofit itself. It's built essentially by lawyers to support booster clubs. I felt like it was effective and it was clear. The discussion at the board meeting was the opposite of that. They were concerned about, this isn't, I'll paraphrase, but this isn't real. It's not a thing that we should be following. So I think in an effort to try to be as clear and concise as possible, it may be worth taking out. Again, as we go through the rest, it will, there is redundancy. So there's one of the pieces in number one in the Booster Club guidelines is being a 501c3. And so you can see right away at number two, we have that. And so again, there's the effect is still there without number one in there, and it would eliminate, I think, some confusion from the community aspect, because ultimately booster clubs are community run. So I want to make sure we're as clear as possible.
Okay, and just another question also.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying about, it'd be a redundant thing if you say, yeah, follow the Parent Booster USA, and then, you also got to be 501c3, but that's also part of the Parent Booster USA. I see that redundancy. Is there anything else in here that would be redundant? And then is there anything else that's not on here that would be part of the Parent Booster USA guidelines that we might need to refer to in the future?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up that what's linked there just to make sure I'm as clear as possible. So articles of incorporation, it talks about it's strongly suggesting filing articles of incorporation just for protection, and it talks about fees in there. It talks about filing annual reports. That is part of the 501c3 piece in itself. You have to file essentially an annual, be able to provide an annual report, charity registration as well as raffle licensing, and then tax exemption. So those are kind of, again, you can see how most of those fit in, they fit within the 501c3 piece.
Okay, yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
Yep. Any more questions on number one?
I have none. Dr. Garrison, you have something?
Sure. So, Mr. Gratz, when we're thinking about, again, parent booster, I know it says state of Wisconsin. We was going to strike the thought of, because when you click on it, it takes you to a Wisconsin title at the top. And again, these are just general booster club guidelines in general. But as long as, and I agree with you, as long as we can capture the snapshots in 2, 3, and as we kind of work through the policy, then I don't think the website would be necessary. I don't think it doesn't have to be there. But do you think the policy as it stands, we are capturing it? Some of the thoughts in the Parent Booster USA website?
I believe so. I would like to keep the link in there, not necessarily as a point, but as a reference, just in links at the bottom of the policy, just to provide that option for parents that may, or parent groups or community groups that may want to start a booster, and they can just kind of go there. I would like to keep it in some capacity, but maybe not necessarily as a point in the policy itself, just more of a reference for people to go back to at the very least.
We can say be familiar with the Parent Booster USA State of Wisconsin guidelines, or we can say be, what's a better word? I'm saying familiar with because that's the easiest way to put it out there. But it's also, as Mr. Nichols just pointed out to me, we do have it attached as a cross-reference at the bottom of the policy, so we can say something like that and not make it a compliant versus non-compliant space. And that's up to the board.
Well, I believe that the reason that we have those footnotes at the bottom, or at the end of each policy, like state statutes are, is just for reference items for the reader, whether they be a booster club president or somebody in the school district or the athletic director or whatever. That's there for there to refer. I don't know that. I don't believe that we always state in a policy that we put each state statute in there when we're talking about the policy. So I don't know that I'm okay that we take it out. And that was your recommendation, Mr. Grass, right, to remove number 1?
Yeah, I think at this point that was one of the biggest hangups, and so I think we have what we need, and so it can be taken out. Again, keeping the reference at the bottom, helpful links would be appropriate, I believe.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Any other discussion on that item? If not, we'll move forward. Mr. Grass, the floor is yours.
Sure. So number 2 must be a registered IRS registered 501c3 and provide applicable documentation annually on or before July 1st. Just that for us, that's the start of the fiscal year. And then it goes into, so this was a point of discussion. We had removed a segment of one of the original policies and just kind of slid it into number 2. A 501c3 must elect officers for the specific booster club, be aware of and in compliance with Title IX regulations, and avoid supporting political activities such as providing campaign donations or placing advertisements for a specific candidate. Those are all strong suggestions. Actually, they're all legal requirements of 501c3. So we had just taken it, we had it kind of numbered out originally and just kind of put it all in there because we didn't, again, redundancy and being clear and concise was the goal. And I think we captured that kind of all in number 2.
Okay, so then number 2 would actually become number 1, correct?
Yes, if we eliminate number 1.
Okay. Okay. I'm just making notes for the, for the final reading or the final adjustment. So, okay. Go ahead.
Yep. Number 3, this one it was our next largest discussion. Have a CPA, bank, or financial specialist manage financial statements / tax filings and be able to provide applicable documentation, including but not limited to the financial statements upon request from the School District of Beloit. The last segment, including but not limited to financial statements upon the request from the School District of Beloit, that piece was added in after discussion from the board to be more clear. I believe. I think it's we tried to keep it concise and to the point, and I think it still provides what it needs by in that, but is clear in my opinion.
Okay. Any discussion on that point? Hearing none. Okay. Move on to the next item. Bullet point.
Yep. Currently number 4, have written organizational bylaws stating that 100% of profits shall be issued directly to the SDB group or groups the Booster Club is/was supporting with no organizational bylaw changes. If, and it gets into a few pieces that I'll go to in a second.
Mr. Grass, I'm sorry, Mr. Grass. Mr. Grass, can you pause for 1 second? I just want to add real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Board members, where you see, we added one word there, and I'm not sure if it really matters, but it says the SDB groups on number 4. For number 4, it says have written organizational bylaws stating that 100% of the profits shall be used directly to the SDB groups. Yeah.
Group or groups?
Yep, group or groups, yep. SDB group or groups. And then the rest of the sentence is correct after that. Sorry about that.
As in School District of Beloit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I would recommend that we spell that out, not just acronym it.
Sure. So we'll just say,
just for more clarification, I think.
no problem, no problem. Add it.
Okay.
Mr. Grass, you can go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. 4A, the Booster Club is no longer operational, including but not limited to loss of 501c3 status and or the minimum board is not maintained.
Can you
that last
pause there?
piece we added in. Yep.
Sorry. If we put and or, the minimum board is not maintained. So that was something that we added. I know you see it there, but it should be in green. Yeah, correct. We could take that out, but that's been added. Just FYI, I don't want you all not to know that information. Okay. Mr. Grass, you can continue. I just want to make sure that, are we keeping that, or are you saying we are going to take that part out?
It's a redundancy based on 501c3 status. You'll have in your bylaws, you would have a minimum board set. So again, we can keep it in. It's a very short phrase there that we can leave in, and it creates redundancy. But again, that's to be determined by you all.
It's up to y'all.
Okay, so your suggestion is to remove and or minimum board is not maintained, or wait.
I think open for discussion. Right now,
Okay.
it can be removed, and it's implied. A 501c3 has to have a minimum board number, and your bylaw should state what that is. So it's implied within that, but again, up to you all.
I would probably just recommend just to leave it. It's such a minimal
Yeah,
thing to do.
okay.
There's no
Yeah.
really, and it also Again, if someone is not too familiar with the 501c3, this is like another backstop or another
Extra,
catch
yeah.
to be able to
Okay.
catch something.
Yep. I believe I agree with that. So go ahead, Mr. Kratz.
Okay. We're into, there's a last segment in there that states if 4A or 4B occurs, the Booster Club will have 10 business days to comply with this policy, excuse me. This must also include the most up-to-date bank statements from the account with a history of the last 90 days. Here's our brief history of this. There's concerns from other booster clubs around us that those funds, we're essentially saying those funds need to go directly to school district of Beloit group or groups. There's concerns that those are potentially going to board members or things like that. We're adding these pieces in just as a safeguard, I think, for the district. And so people that maybe are donating to boosters or providing funds to boosters, expecting that those dollars are going to be spent appropriately, that they are. And this just gives the district a way to kind of, I don't want to say enforce, but a way to kind of safeguard those pieces a little bit.
Okay.
Just one thing, number 5, did we skip over number 5?
No, sorry. That was
Okay.
the end of, there's a subsection after 4B. So that we're not quite there to number 5 yet.
Okay, sorry. The one I'm seeing, it just goes from 4B to 5, so it's,
It's a misprint. That 4A, if 4A should go right above. 5. Yes, it should go above it.
okay, I got
Sorry.
Is it a C item or is it just another paragraph after bullet point B?
It's a. Oh. Go ahead, Mr. Grass. You can go ahead.
I would say it's probably appropriate to add it as a C item.
As a C?
Yeah.
Okay. Mrs. Shope, are you following that? Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Grass.
All right. Only change to number 5, I'll read it here, but the only change to number 5 is to get compliant with our updated district policy 840, changing the 1,000 to 100. Donations of over 100, it did read as 1,000. It should read now as 100, should be submitted to the Director of Athletics and Activities to be brought to the Board of Education by the superintendent per district policy 840.
Well, there's a pause there still because it still hasn't been approved at the board level yet. And I say that very kindly because the board could, change that space as well. But we also talked about this possibly not looking the same for booster clubs or fundraisers a little bit last night too. So, board, you have to kind of let us know how you want us to handle that.
Well, I think until we get that policy clarified and ready to go, hopefully by the beginning of the school year, that we should leave it at 1,000. That's my recommendation.
I'm thinking if you do need to have something put down right now to finalize until that later time when we can actually get the actual
Yes.
number, you might want to put some verbiage in there saying, donations over, donation amounts should be submitted to the Director of Athletics and Activities to be brought forth to the Board of Education or Superintendent as stated in policy 840. This way, it's just kind of like, where it's going to look at. But then again, no, thinking about it, I agree. 1,000's different because, like you said, the funds for the fundraising thing is going to be a different thing too.
Correct.
So.
Okay, so we're in agreement. We're going to leave it at $1,000 for now till we adjust 840. Till we clean up 840 and have it ready to go.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a question, I think, of one more piece. Dr. Garrison, do you want to bring that up now, or do we want to hold off on that one?
We go ahead and bring it up now. It's fine.
So at the last board meeting during community discussion, it was articulated by one of our community members that they are a volunteer, and they mentioned volunteer. They mentioned that many times, and that just kind of triggered in my head, like, hey, we have a policy for a process for approving volunteers. And so my question was, and I can read kind of a piece that we potentially shaped, and just see what your thoughts are. And again, we can add it in or not. It would be it'd be number 5, I guess, if we take out number 1. Booster Club volunteers must complete an online volunteer application to be in compliance with SDB board policy 353.1. The Booster Club board must create and maintain an approved volunteer spreadsheet. The concern is that would create one more piece of work for a volunteer-based group. But if our intent is to provide as much, if our intent with policy is to make sure our school is operating in the most compliant way possible, then, I think we should probably have something of the sort. So I'll leave it up to you all. Again, it's adding more to an already wordy policy, but just a thought.
Yes, Dr. Garrison.
Yeah, so, and again, I'm not tied to adding this part to the policy. I don't think it's necessarily necessary. However, I do know that, because to be honest with you, foundations or booster club, people change out all the time, and right. Whoever is on their board or whomever is, coming to a game, or, it's just kind of hard for us to be able to say, oh, well, there's going to be an application for everybody who's in everybody's booster club for volunteering. And plus, they are operating separately from the school district as well, in a lot of cases. And so I'm not necessarily tied to adding that. However, we do have a volunteer application process if you're necessarily working with our kids on a regular basis. In this case, it's only for, special activities or whatnot. And it's not necessarily the day-to-day type of volunteers that I believe this policy is geared towards. And so, again, I'm not necessarily tied to it. I just wanted to make sure we brought it up, just out of transparency. I didn't want it to be like, oh, you left something out and then have to come back and do it all over again. So I'm open to not necessarily having it, but we also wanted to make sure the board wanted to have a conversation with it. We could.
Okay. Board Member Romero?
I just want to make sure, like, if we don't have it, that's not going to show any kind of transparency issue, just to be transparent with things in the community and to the board and to everybody around. That's my only concern with that, because we seem to have issues with that and everything else, and I don't want this to be one of those.
Mr. Gratz, could you read that again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Booster Club volunteers must complete the online volunteer application. Just to stop there, online volunteer application is linked to take anybody that clicks on it directly to our district website volunteer application. To be in compliance with SDB board policy 353.1, again, that's linked to take anyone to the policy, period. The Booster Club board must create and maintain an approved volunteer spreadsheet.
I think in the interest of transparency, I believe that's probably a good idea to leave that in. Mrs. Shope, did you get all of that? Not all of it. Okay. All right.
Sure. Do you want to take questions from
Well, normally not. No. Okay. I'm sorry. We're not going to take questions in policy committee for now. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I did once, and I was in error. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gratz, I think Mrs. Shope needs to get all that down. Mrs. Shope, could you tell Mr. Gratz where you left off or where you need clarification?
I can help her with it too. I have
have
a
it?
yeah, I have a little write up here too.
Okay, I don't have that.
So Michelle, you ready? So Booster Club volunteers must complete the online volunteer application to be in compliance with SDB policy 5, I'm sorry, SDB policy 353.1. The Booster Club board must create and maintain an approved volunteer spreadsheet. The Booster Club board must create and maintain an approved volunteer spreadsheet.
So, Mrs. Shope, did you get all that now? Okay. Mr. Gratz, anything else?
I believe that's all I have.
Okay. So let me review this. So we're going to eliminate item 1. So number 2 becomes 1. Number 3 becomes 2. Number 4 becomes 3 with the addition of School District of Beloit before the word group or groups on the second line. Number 5 becomes number 4. And the paragraph that starts if 4A and or 4B occurs comes under its bullet point C and moves up in front of item number 4. And then the last correction was the policy 353.1 that Dr. Garrison just read to Mrs. Shope. Did I get all that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is there any additional discussion? If there's not, I would entertain a motion to approve policy 881 as presented and amended.
I motion to approve.
Okay, I second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gratz.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 4B, 154 Board Legislative Program and 154 Rule 1 Board Legislative Program. This is just a change so that we match up with policy 143 official board representatives. We had conflicting, one place said chairperson, these said chairperson policy, chairperson of the Policy Personnel Committee would make the change, and it should be the board president. So that this is the correction for both those policy 154 and 154 Rule 1. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve 154 and 154 Rule 1 as changed.
I motion for approval.
Okay, I'll second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 2-0. Okay, next item is next meeting date, 5A. So we will next meet on Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 at 4 PM, not 5:30. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait a second, do we have future agenda items? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at two different, I'm sorry. I gotta say, I just got out another minute.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Hearing any discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 6:25.